What if your digital footprint becomes a cage? The lines of personal freedom are blurring as technology, government, and social media platforms silently, or not so silently lately, infringe on our individual liberties. How much freedom are we willing to sacrifice for safety? How can we maintain any semblance of privacy? Will speaking your mind get you imprisoned or killed? Listen to hear how to protect yourself, as much as you can anyway. Hi, I'm the Urban Lady Prepper. I help single moms and solo women with practical emergency preparedness. But of course, all are welcome to be better prepared for whatever happens next. Our personal liberty is facing unprecedented challenges. Our every move is being tracked. Surveillance companies collect our data. Facial recognition tools blur the lines between safety and intrusion. Privacy erosion has been a growing concern for years now. Algorithms guide decisions you once thought were yours alone, raising questions about free speech and autonomy. These forces shape our future, and the various technological advances once viewed as innovations now raise questions about the extent to which they infringe on our rights and privacy. The use of our personal information as a commodity is something of which we have little control. This episode gets into how surveillance capitalism, biometric tracking, and smart devices are impacting our privacy, and how freedom of speech is rapidly becoming a privilege that the average person won't be able to afford, as the repercussions can be emotionally and financially damaging, but even downright dangerous. I want to break down the different types of technologies so you can better understand what they're doing and how you can decide how much to let them intrude on your life, and how free speech isn't just about what others hear, but conversations you thought were private and protected probably aren't, and accessible by people who may not have your best interest at heart. Let's start with surveillance capitalism. Surveillance capitalism refers to the collection and commodification of personal data, which is fancy speak for how your data is being used to predict and influence behavior. AI does what's called nudging, in helping data be continuously harvested to create detailed profiles, which help companies predict our future actions and preferences, often without our explicit consent. By doing this, they can influence our buying decisions or even shape our personal and political views. The implications on personal liberty are significant, as individuals lose control over their information and choices, or are inconvenienced by trying to seek them. This approach not only generates profit from personal data, but also impacts individual freedoms while creating polarization. So, how do you avoid or diminish this? Switch browsers. Move away from the usual major surveillance capitalists to privacy-focused alternatives like Mozilla Firefox or Brave, which often have built-in tracking protection. Use privacy-focused search engines such as DuckDuckGo or Brave Search, which don't track your searches or build a profile of you. Install ad and tracking blockers. Audit your apps. Regularly review the permissions your mobile apps have and delete any apps you don't use, especially free apps that offer little value in exchange for broad permissions. Be highly selective about which apps are allowed to access your location. If you must have that app, ask yourself how badly you need it, or if there's an alternative. Where possible, switch to privacy-respecting alternatives for email, cloud storage, and messaging. For email, check out Proton Mail or Tutanota instead of Gmail. For messaging, use end-to-end encrypted apps like Signal instead of Meta Facebook-owned messaging apps. Some of those are paid services, but in this particular time in history, you may want to pony up. The next bit is hard for just about all of us. Delete or greatly limit social media. Remember, the internet is forever, not just for that inappropriate thing you posted 15 years ago, but also your data that can still be harvested and sold to third parties. The less you're out there, the better. Use an alias or separate email address for non-essential signups like store loyalty programs or forums. Resist the convenience of logging with Google or Facebook, as it allows one company to track your activity across dozens of other websites. Create unique, separate logins instead. Take the time to deep dive into the privacy settings of all platforms you're on and restrict data sharing, ad personalization, and third-party linking. Don't sign up for anything that isn't providing amazing benefits, like your local grocery store or retail outlet, as it can open you up to dynamic pricing. I'll get to that in a minute. Use one of the deletion services that will scrub your personal information from the internet. This is another situation where you have to weigh its value against your privacy because it will be yet another subscription. Just remember that even if you try to scrub yourself from the internet or you use a free version that removes what's currently available, every time you make a change in your public record, you get added to scammer and spammer lists all over again. Next is biometric tracking, which includes facial recognition and biometric scans, using personal physical characteristics such as facial features and fingerprints to identify you. While these technologies promise enhanced security, they also introduce significant privacy concerns. Facial recognition is increasingly used in public spaces, normalizing constant surveillance. This constant scrutiny can lead to a society where individuals are perpetually monitored, raising questions about autonomy and anonymity. Examples include airports using facial scans for passenger identification. While they improve security efficiency, the privacy trade-offs are considerable. The potential misuse of this data by authorities, third parties, or hackers adds another layer of risk, emphasizing the need for stringent regulations. Other concerns about facial recognition include the potential for misidentification, which is a particular concern for people of color. It has been shown that the systems are not programmed to recognize differences, making individuals who are already over-policed targets by yet something else. The normalization of constant identification for extra security has been the compromise we've struggled with since 9/11. It's pretty hard to avoid. If we have supplied this kind of identification even once, it may be on some server somewhere, even if they indicated that the data is removed after it serves its purpose. So, what can you do to keep this to a minimal? You can refuse to have your face scanned at airports. It is not mandatory. You can decline. Avoid using your face or fingerprint to open your phone or computer. It's a voluntary use of biometrics. Use a strong passcode or PIN instead. Disable the virtual assistants such as Siri, Alexa, or using OK Google and voice activation features on all smart speakers and phones to prevent the device from recording and analyzing your voice patterns. For online photos, videos, or social media, be cautious with apps that heavily process faces, like those face filters or deepfake generators, as they may collect your facial geometry and store it. Limit your health app access. Check the privacy settings of your smartwatches and fitness trackers. Restrict which third-party apps can access your heart rate, sleep, or gait data. Ladies, don't use period trackers, and don't let your daughter use them either. Did I mention that ICE now has access to your medical records? They do. If they do, any other government agency may have access as well. And always be sure you have the most current software update for your device. Smart devices are integrated into our daily lives, offering convenience and connectivity. However, they also act as potential surveillance tools, gathering data from our interactions. From smart speakers to home security cameras, these devices often listen or watch continuously. The data they collect can reveal intimate details about our habits and preferences, sometimes without our awareness. A case study on smart thermostats shows how they could track users' presence at home. This data, while useful for energy efficiency, raises questions about privacy. As smart devices become increasingly prevalent, we must weigh its convenience against potential privacy invasions. We've seen the lawsuits and class action settlements against huge companies such as Apple, Amazon, and Google, whose products such as Siri and Nest were always on. But wait, there's more. In the near future, a new development called Wi-Fi may become a reality. A recent white paper describes a system that uses Wi-Fi signals to identify and track a person's movements without cameras. This system learns how to identify someone by analyzing the way their body shape and movement alter Wi-Fi signals. And soon your router may be able to track your movements throughout the house. It will use technology that can see through walls, meaning all areas will be under surveillance, even if the router isn't in the room. If this sounds familiar to my newsletter subscribers, I did mention this a few weeks ago. The easiest way to prevent smart devices from spying on you is not to have them. If you have a smart device or want to get one, what can you do to improve your privacy? Disable or limit other data collection features like automatic contact recognition, ACR, or personalized ads in the privacy settings. Cover the camera if your model has one and you don't use it, and this is a practice even recommended by some security experts. Avoid connecting the TV to the internet entirely and use an external streaming device like a Roku, Apple TV, or Fire Stick instead, using local media playback or local network streaming where no internet is required. I'll define those terms in the description for this episode. Of course, AI is playing a role that will only increase. It does more than just nudge algorithms influencing decisions in areas like shopping and news consumption. E-commerce platforms use AI to recommend products, shaping consumer behavior. While this personalization can enhance user experience, it also limits exposure to diverse options, potentially stifling independent decision-making. In media, AI curates news feeds based on past preferences. Understanding these influences is vital for maintaining a balanced perspective. AI is also responsible for deepfakes and misinformation, which presents challenges in discerning truth. Those creating realistic but fake images or videos using AI can attempt to manipulate public perception. The challenge lies in distinguishing between fake and real, which is becoming increasingly difficult as AI improves. AI also does what is called predictive policing, using algorithms to forecast criminal activity, aiming to enhance law enforcement efficiency. While promising, it raises important concerns about privacy and bias. It can further erode trust in law enforcement, highlighting the need for transparent and careful use of it. Another term is digital gating. You're more familiar with this than you realize. This involves platforms controlling access to information, shaping what users can see and share. Social media platforms often moderate content, removing posts that violate their policies. While this aims to create safe environments, it can also restrict legitimate expression. For instance, users may face what we know as shadow banning or deplatforming for holding controversial views, limiting their reach. This raises fundamental questions about who decides what information is accessible and how it affects a discourse. While moderation is intended to prevent harm, it highlights the need for transparent, consistent, and fair moderation policies that respect free expression while encouraging users to show respect for others. In our polarized world, free speech faces new challenges, and active pushback, such as swatting and doxing, is made available and accessible due to the storage of our data. With the murder of Charlie Kirk to Jimmy Kimmel being suspended, free speech is a hot topic because everyone says they want it until it means they have to listen to people they hate, or they want free speech for their group or demographic but want to limit others from having it, or they want free speech not for open discussion but just so they can spew slurs freely. Dialogue is limited when everyone isn't playing by the rules or being hypocritical about what people can say. And regardless of your political affiliations, both sides actively use cancel culture. Some people are just awful and probably should never be given a platform, but this phenomenon of cancel culture can suppress open discourse and affect personal liberty. With that being said, while the First Amendment gives everyone the right to free speech, which should always be protected as it's a right granted by the Constitution, which this current administration apparently views as optional, the people who hear what you say have the right to speak on it and do with it what they will. What's important to recognize is the difference between being canceled and simply facing accountability. As we shouldn't normalize constant surveillance, we also shouldn't normalize speech that isn't actual discourse, but is just spreading hate, disinformation, or encourages the harm or disenfranchisement of others under the guise of free speech. We can keep the dialogue open and not foster self-censorship, but individuals and businesses that take a stand on a controversial subject must be prepared for any significant personal and professional repercussions that may result, up to assault and, yes, even murder. Again, all made easier by technology that makes what we thought was private accessible. While accountability is necessary, the potential for disproportionate backlash highlights the need for balanced responses that encourage constructive conversation. We can't have it both ways. But our best intentions have no control over human nature, and well, people will people. We do need to be wise with our words and actions because our not-so-private data can be accessed by people who can use it against us. With all of this happening currently, we're facing emerging issues based on the information being harvested from us more completely and efficiently than ever. Nefarious goals of the government to access our medical records and scrutinize, and even penalize our personal medical choices, from imprisonment to the death penalty. and using those smart devices to get access to our private conversations. Then there's digital currencies and financial surveillance. Should cash be deemed obsolete and only digital currency be allowed, that would give the government and banks unprecedented control over our money. Don't think it can't happen, because in some places, it already has. Then there's dynamic pricing that I mentioned earlier. Dynamic pricing uses your personal data to determine the price you pay for a product or service. This is currently happening in some supermarkets and retail stores. If the merchandise doesn't have a price listed anywhere, chances are your data, not the product's value, decides what to charge you. No, I'm not kidding. This has also been used to determine how much to pay gig workers, leading to further wage inequities. We can advocate for our digital rights, but the technology is improving and becoming more prevalent faster than our representatives can legislate for it. We can support organizations that fight for our civil liberties in the tech sphere, but then we must confront our addiction to convenience and our fear of missing out on what future wonders technology can bring. The key to all of this is balance. And since we're in a time where everything seems to be sliding backwards, civility is hard to find, and reasoning is disappearing along with rights we used to enjoy, I'm not optimistic that we can handle such nuances when we've shown we're incapable of handling the basics. I hope to be proven wrong. Thank you for listening, and be cautious about what you share. Until next time, this is the Urban Lady Prepper signing off. I'm sure I've given you some things to think about as you go through the upcoming week. Has this episode resonated with you? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to click the link in the podcast description to get your free Essential Prepper checklist. While there, get one of my cool designs on a shirt, hat, mug, and more at my Redbubble store. Or you can always buy me a coffee or get a Jace case for your emergency medical needs. It helps support what I do, and I really appreciate it. Join me on the socials, especially on YouTube, where I'll be uploading videos for my blogs from urbanladyprepper.com. I appreciate your time with me. Stay safe, stay sharp, and be ready.